reaction. All right, guys, I think we should get straight to it. I know some of you guys are waiting over here. We got people over here and we got some people over here. So let's get to it. Today we're going to talk about what Simon Sinek got wrong and what we should do instead, so we can actually get the engagement that we want on our teams, and to be able to build a team that is autonomous and self-managed, so we can get our time back and focus on the long-term goals instead of just like trying to fix everything that is broken today. All right, let's just, stuff's happening. Okay, let's get to it. What have we got here? We got any comments or questions straight out of the gate? I'm gonna check the comments. We got anything? We're also live on YouTube today, which is exciting because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see if today is the day that works. Okay, so we are all good. Just type a 1 in the chat box so I know that you're with me. You can actually hear me and everything's good. Okay, you guys seem to hear me. That's great. What about the Facebook people? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys? Here we go. All right. Looks like we got audio. Looks like we got everything we need. And today I want to make it kind of as interactive as we can. I'm going to run through a few things that I think is really interesting, but I want you guys to pop in the questions whenever you feel like, you know what, I didn't really get that, or, you know, I have a question that I've been thinking about. So please just join in this discussion and let's just do this. I think today will be really exciting. I know this is helpful for some people, and maybe it is for you too as well. So, is it updating? I think it is. So today is for team leaders or business owners who think that, or who may feel like their team doesn't really care as much as they do, or maybe feel like if it should be done correctly, you need to do it yourself. It is all for the people who feel frustration that your teammates rarely give you the exact results that you want. Maybe you have to repeat yourself twice or 3 times before you get what it is that you want. And that for some of you leads to being stressed and overwhelmed, because often it happens that we have to kind of fix and redo the tasks. Other calls coming in. We don't want to do that. That you have to kind of redo the task of your people, which means you do all of their stuff, and then by the end of the day, when everyone else has gone home, it is up to you to do the important tasks. And we don't want that, but it happens to some of us, and that's okay. And maybe for just some of you, you might feel almost a little bit afraid that when you delegate and when you give tasks to someone, you feel a sense of losing control. Maybe you're spending a lot of time doing this, and maybe you have to tell your team a couple of times before they get it. And maybe you are one of those team leaders or business owners who feel that you only delegate what is absolutely necessary. And if this is you, this live is made for you. But you might also be stuck in what we call the wrong why trap. This is a stupid name. We'll probably figure something better out later on. But it is this fallacy of just explaining the why that gets us into a lot of trouble. And Simon Sinek is a great dude. He's done a lot of good stuff, but I think he misses out on a few points, and that is probably why you haven't got the engagement and excitement and the commitment from your team as you're hoping for. But maybe we can fix that today. So, as always, we're struggling with with the updates here, but what I see with people that I talk with and that I have as clients is that this usually leads to people are unwilling to be a volunteer. Like when you ask for help, or when you ask for, hey, could someone do this for me? It's usually just one person on the team that does this. It usually leads to like a low innovation style. There's rarely any new ideas, and all the ideas that are new, they are almost never provocative. They're always within the box, you know. And it's also you have to kind of extract all the information from your team. You rarely get like suggestion that, you know what, maybe we should do it like this. And you might also struggle with a high turnover. People are going on your team or going on your business, and then they're leaving maybe after a year or maybe 2, but you would like to have them for longer. So my question to you guys right now is like, how many of these can you relate to? So I got all of these cameras now, so I gotta look everywhere. But how many of these can you relate to? You just put it in the chat box if there's like, yeah, you know, like number 1 for the top one, 2 for the second one, 3 for the, you know, stuff like that. So just let me know so I can see you guys what you're up to. So we got number 1 over here. What do we got on Facebook? Nothing. Okay, and we got a high turnover. Okay, good. Or I mean, it's not it's not good, but it's what we're here to fix. So that is really good, and I think I've got some good stuff for you today. And I could kind of bet that you have probably tried. And let me know if this is correct. If this is not you, let me know in the chat box. And yes, chat box, that's the official name. Maybe you have tried hiring some type of expert to kind of run team building exercises, or you know, one of those awkward like, now we're supposed to be better communicators exercise. Like, and you might have brought like speakers for one of your meetings to kind of get, you know, become inspired and working as a team type of stuff. And you most likely have spoken about the why of the business. Why is your business doing this? Why is your team doing this? And what is the bigger picture? And you might have tried all the things that's in the book Start With Why, the Simon Sinek book. And I get it. We still haven't really figured it out, and you're not getting the results you want. I'm just going to skip on here. So if this is you, then you are in the right spot, because this is a common problem. It's something that I meet almost every week and have these types of discussions with people almost weekly. And what was that? So you said, you got a comment over here. Yeah, sorry. That is great. Yeah, okay. That's funny. Yeah, so for those of you who do not know me, my name is Gabriel von Knorring. I am half Swedish, half Spanish, and I spent most of the last couple of years doing what you can see on the image on the left, which is bomb disposal in the Swedish Armed Forces. I've done a couple of deployments internationally, in both Africa and in the Middle East, and I ran a team of bomb disposal experts. So I was the team leader. They were all experts and stuff. And the interesting thing, why I'm working with autonomous teams now, is that if you're a bomb disposal officer, you actually, when you go do your task and you approach the dangerous stuff, you separate from your team, which means that you have to give them really clear and precise orders so they can work in the background while you approach the what we call the target. And that made me think, I wonder if I could implement the same things on civilian teams, you know? Wonder if you could lead your team as autonomously as we lead our teams. So that got me thinking, and I started testing this with a few people, and I'm like, oh, you know what? This seems to work. If you can give enough context, you can give good enough orders, or whatever you want to call it, then you could have a team that is self-managed, even in the civilian world, even without the risks, even without the complex of combat and you know, the dangers of that. But you could have that in your work spot. And you could also have a team that is engaged with the task and that are committed, because, and this is the secret, a different why than Simon Sinek is talking about. And that's what we're going to talk today. And I use this in my own business. I use it when I give orders to my civilian team. I use it in the military over here at the military academy. And this works. So check this out. While clear communication is awesome, it isn't enough. So here's an example. You could take out the trash. Like it's a very clear, you know, the mission is clear. You take out the trash, but it's not really exciting, right? So being clear and specific isn't enough to create excitement and create engagement on the team. And if all you had to do was start with the why, just explain why the company is doing what it's doing, then there would be no problems with low engagement. I had a discussion with a guy named Jan Rutherford, and he told me 33% of American companies, the engagement of the American workforce is at its lowest ever. So it's down at 33%, which is incredibly low. Like most of the people in a work spot, they don't give a shit. They just show up to get their paycheck and they just go home. Which of course it's crazy when it comes to productivity. So just telling people why this company exists and why we're doing what we're doing isn't enough to create this thing. Because if it was that easy, everyone, there would be no problems with low engagement. So the company why is great, but it's not enough to create engagement. So I want to ask you a question. When things get rough, let's see what we got. Do we have any comments here? No, still on the train. So when things get rough, do you think people will keep pushing through because they believe in a vision produced by a CEO that they don't know? Or do you think that people keep fighting because they understand completing this task or finishing this mission is valuable to themselves, the people they care about, and the values they seem to be important? So if you think it's people keep fighting for the vision of the company, just send me a 1. And if you think it's because of the values and the value system that they have, send me a 2. And of course I'm going to fight a little bit with Facebook over here because that's my main job with this stuff. So just send a number 1 or a 2 if that makes sense to you. Okay, we got some number 2s. That's the number 2s. Does anyone think that number 1 is actually what gets people going, what gets people exciting? No? Okay. So maybe we're onto something here. So here's how I see it. When bullets start flying, soldiers don't care about democracy. They just fight to get back home to their families. And I think this is the same in the workplace. Like, nobody comes to work every day thinking about the grand scheme of things, and especially now when things are getting rough, when you're, the tasks or the missions are just boring and slow and you just want to go home. You don't think about like, this CEO has this grand vision of where this company is going. No, you think about the friends and the people that are around you. The reason why most people go to work is because they love their colleagues. And the reason why people quit their job, and listen carefully, it's because of bad managers. People don't quit their jobs, they quit their managers. It's not the task, it's not the people around them or the people on the team, it's actually the managers. That means it's up to you and I to create engagement and make people want to do this. Yes, isn't that kind of exciting? Because that means we can do something about it. Does that make sense? Just hit me a yes if that makes sense. Okay, you guys are getting it. How we're doing over here? You guys seem to be getting it. How we're doing on the Facebook stuff? Quite. Okay, so we're getting it. That's awesome. So the biggest mistake you can make is that you assume that people care about the goal of the organization. Let's start with the why, right? Start with the why. Explain the goal of the organization, explain the higher purpose, etc., etc. And now I'm telling you the biggest mistake you can make is that you assume that people care about the goal of the organization. Does that make any sense to you guys? Just have to flip through things. Good? Awesome. Awesome. We got it. Yeah, so the thing is this, like, if they don't see the benefit of it to themselves or to the values they have or to the people who they care about, there will be no engagement, there will be no commitment. I mean, why would they engage and be highly committed to a company that doesn't really benefit them or something they believe in? It doesn't make any sense, even if it's something remotely that they, maybe you're doing something great for the climate. But if it doesn't really deeply connect with that, and they don't see the things that you're doing every day actually benefits their own values, you won't have any engagement. That is probably why you see very low engagement, because you haven't connected the purpose of the company or the goals of your team with something that they care about. But the thing is, what if you could do this? What if you could communicate it in a way that actually creates understanding and engagement? And that's the thing I've been trying to figure out the last couple of years, and I've set up this framework that has proven to be really, really useful. And this is what I'm going to share today, or I have shared it before, and I'm going to share you a template, which if you just DM me or go to the Facebook group, you could find the template and you can start implementing it basically today. And what it does is that it focuses on what should be done, why they should care. Some of you might react to this because it doesn't tell people how to do things. And this is the key to not micromanage, is to focus on the what and the why. And the why in a sense that they would care about it. Really important. Because when you do this, you will have more time to focus on high priority task, because you'll be able to delegate so they actually perform it, and you only check specific things, and you get back the result you want, so you could focus on the important stuff, right? You will be able to spend much less time on boring and repetitive tasks, and of course you'll reduce anxiety and stress levels, because now you know that you've communicated it to your team in a way that they understand and in a way that they engage with, so you don't have to look over their shoulder to make sure it's done correctly. This is a big deal. Okay. And of course this leads to increased trust and engagement, which is all the things you should be wanting for your team. So here's my question for you guys. I'm gonna check can you guys think of one highly engaged person that didn't have any personal interest in the task? So what I'm asking is basically, is there someone on your team or someone you have worked with that was highly engaged with the task, one of those like really passionate people that didn't have anything to gain from finishing that task? They just worked for the higher picture or for the big picture. So let me know in the comment section, just a one or a yes or a no. Have you met anyone like this? Okay, here we go. No. Got it. No. And I would argue it doesn't work that way. It just can't happen. Because as human beings, we don't engage with the things we don't care about. So we need to care about something, and it is our responsibility as leaders or business owners to communicate it in a way that makes them engaged with it. So this is not something that I've just, a theory that might work. This is exactly what I've done for my business and my military teams, and it has helped hundreds of leaders do the same. I actually had some training on this today down at the military academy, and once people figure this out, it is just mind-blowing how effective it is. So you want to communicate in a way that makes them want to do it, and usually this is where we go check out the tool. But today I kind of want to go through your questions, to be honest. I want to hear more what questions you got. So even if it's not related to this specific thing, you're more than welcome to just ask a question and we'll take it from there. Because I know a few of you guys, at least you guys over here, you've seen this kind of thing before, and you know the template, that stuff. So I'm not going to go into that today. And for you other people who see this, you could just check out the replays, which will be available in the Facebook group. And you will also be able to find the template in the Facebook group, which will give you kind of an easy way to communicate with your team. And you could take the template, fill it out, and use it to communicate in a way that creates a little bit of engagement and understanding of the task. What do we got? Okay. Do we have any questions? Yes. Yeah. Okay. We got, so send me your questions now and I'll look through them and see what we have. We got okay, so okay, here's a question. Why I don't focus on the how. So there are a few reasons why I recommend people not focus on the how. One of them is that as soon as you start telling people exactly what it is that you, exactly how you want people to do it, you take away their responsibility to kind of solve the task. It means you're telling them step by step like how to do it, and that is the country of micromanaging. And that means that, as most of you already know, once you start micromanaging, you take away the inherent trust of the team, and you take away a lot of those things that makes people engaged with the task. And if you keep feeding them with step-by-step instructions, they're also going to be expecting step-by-step instructions, and that kind of gets you into this bad loop of, they stop thinking and they assume you're going to give them step-by-step. And the more you do that, the more exact the step-by-step needs to be for them to deliver what it is that you want. But if instead you focus on the what should be done, like the usually what we call the end state, like what will the world look like once the task is solved, then you give them the goal of the task, and then they can kind of figure out how to get there. And that means that you don't have to figure out the best way to get there. They get to figure that out. So they have to kind of take responsibility and ownership to find a way. And you know what? A lot of times people will find a much better way than the way you thought it. So if you can figure out, where you want them to end up, and then they can figure out how to get there, which saves you a lot of time and creates some ownership and engagement, which is kind of what you want. It sounds like. Does that answer your question? Okay, yeah? Okay, got it. Yes, you can just go to the Delegate Without Losing Control Facebook group, and inside the group there's a place where you can find the delegation template, or send me a DM and I'll just send you the link. There's no email sign up, you don't need to do anything, it's just a tool that I've created because I think it's pretty awesome. Which one do you want me to go back to? The the wrong why. Okay, yeah, I got it. Let's go back to this one. So, so the wrong why. So what I'm talking about, the wrong why, basically what I hear a lot of people take away from Simon Sinek's speeches and all those amazing stuff. I love that guy. He's got so much to offer and so many things, but I don't know if it gets misunderstood or if he doesn't communicate it in this way. But if you communicate the why of the company, and you assume that people automatically care about that why, I think you're making a huge mistake. If you're lucky, then people care about that why. But if you're like most teams, most people don't really care about the high value stuff. Like, if you ask them, they'll tell you that of course they care. But if you test them, if you get into a rough situation where things are at stake, you will see people's behaviors shift. They will go from like thinking about the higher value purpose of the company to thinking about how are we doing within the team. And if you have a good team, people are going to take care of each other. But if you don't have a good team, people are going to work for themselves. They're going to close in and they're going to make sure they are the one with the knowledge. They are the one who will not get fired when things go bad. So, but if you can connect the higher purpose of the company to something that they personally feel is beneficial to them or to their values or someone that they care about, and you connect those two, that's where the power is. You need to connect the why of the company with the why of the person you are leading. So how do you do that? So how? Okay, yes, that's a great question. Of course, how would you do that? It's yeah, it's a huge question. Yeah. Okay. So I I'll give you a few pointers. Like it's basically a course in itself, and there's a lot of tips and tricks. But here's a rough idea how to get started. If you want to be able to connect the why of the company with the intrinsic drive or the why of the persons, you need to figure two things out. First, you need to figure out the why of the company, like really understand it, not just read what's on the wall, but really understand what it is that the company aims to do. And then you need to do the much harder work, and that is trying to understand what it is that drives your people. What is the inner drive of the team you're leading? And you might think, okay, I'll just go ask them, but like it's not certain, it's not obvious that people know what it is that drives them. If you ask someone like, oh, what are your intrinsic motivation about going to work? They'll tell you, I don't know. So you need to kind of need to test your people, You could try to communicate in a way that emphasizes something you think they engaged with. Like I had an amazing teammate that I would always speak to him in a sense where he could understand that he was in a position to influence people's lives in a better way. Like I would put him in teacher positions or in roles where he got to teach people. And I would emphasize the teaching aspect of the task. Because I knew that was something that he really engaged with. That was something that was important to him. But I could also communicate the same task without mentioning the teaching aspect. And even though it's the same task, if I didn't talk about how this was a role of teaching or developing humans, then he wouldn't be as engaged. He wouldn't see the benefit to him. So what you need to do is kind of understand your team. You can test them, try to figure out what it is that makes them go to work, even though it's low pay, shitty hours, etc. Maybe it's the social stuff. Maybe it's just the team. Maybe it's their intrinsic. Maybe it's their will to kind of develop as a person. Or maybe they just like having a laugh, maybe they just want to have fun. And then whatever it is, that's what you need to communicate, that so they see that they will get that out of solving this task. So figure out the why of the company, but focus on trying to understand your teammates. You could have deeper discussions with them, but that's also, most of you won't have the time to do that, and might not also have built the trust to kind of do that. But if you have that time and you have that trust built, having those discussions is also amazing. But watch your people. When you see them engage with a task, you see them get a little bit excited, you should be like, oh, that's interesting, that's super interesting. And what about that task got them so excited? And then you try to replicate that task or try to figure out what it is that gets them excited. And the next time they get excited, you're like, oh, interesting. And then once you get more and more data points, you start to figure out, this is what drives them. And yes, it's a lot of work. It's a shit ton of work to do this. But so far, I haven't met anyone who's been able to build engagement and commitment and ownership on a team without doing this. And if you find a way that's shorter and faster, heck, send me a DM. I'll be the first one to buy a course. Like, honestly. But I haven't seen it yet. Okay, what else do we got? So the Facebook group, you guys are, I don't know, are you still in here? If you are listening to this, send me a 1. And over here, yes, you are engaged. Awesome. And the Facebook peoples, you guys are also amazing. All right, so do we have any other questions? So we talked about the difference of why, the company why, and the intrinsic value of the person you're leading. We have talked about the reason why you're probably not getting the engagement that you want. Yeah, okay, so I think that is it. which I'm very excited about. It's been a long day. I had some pretty crappy sleep for just 3.5 hours for different reasons. So I'm very excited about going to bed soon. I hope you guys are doing good. If, as always, you want to get the template, send me a DM. You have any questions, send me a DM. I love to have these discussions and conversations with you guys. So, all right. Bye to you guys. Bye to you guys. And bye to you guys. Ciao. If I can find the off button. But I think I can.